Stop using these settings.
Seriously, if your videos look off, it's probably not your camera. It's what we're going to talk about in this video. Today, we're going to be breaking down the most common mistakes that I see from beginner videographers and filmmakers when it comes to shooting videos. And most importantly, going over what you should be doing instead. Because fixing these things is going to do a lot more for your videos than buying a new camera will. So whether you're shooting on something like this, or something like this, you thought I was going to throw it. No, I'm not that crazy. And if you're wondering, hey, who's this guy? Why should I be listening to him? Well, my name's JJ. I run a video production company here in South Florida. And let's get into the video. The first thing we're going to talk about is automatic white balance, or AKA, let my camera ruin my colors mid-shot. Now, this normally isn't a huge issue, but if you're using automatic white balance, I'm sure you've seen it when you go to edit your video, it will slightly change constantly. If you're filming in a spot that has a mix of lightings, you might as well throw the idea of getting good colors straight out of the camera, straight out the window. And now I said automatic white balance, but this also sort of includes setting the wrong white balance if you are shooting manual. The thing is though, if you set the white balance wrong manually and it's not changing throughout the shot, it should be a lot easier for you to fix in post while you're color grading. But if it's constantly shifting back and forth, which is what you can get with automatic white balancing, that'll either make your job or your editor's job a lot harder than it needs to be. So what you're going to want to do is pick one color temperature and stick with that as long as you're in that same setting. Pick it, lock it in, make sure it doesn't change. And if you don't know how to set the white balance yourself, or you're scared that you're not going to set it perfectly or not, you can turn on automatic white balancing, and then once it picks the white balance it wants to use, just lock it there. Next, we're going to talk about using the wrong shutter speed. Now, this will make your footage look kind of choppy, maybe even like a low-budget action movie if your shutter speed is too high, or it can be way too blurry if you set your shutter speed too low. Now, I've gone over this in other videos, but for shutter speed, it's super simple. You just want to have it be double your frame rate. So if you're shooting at 30, shutter speed should be 60. If you're shooting at 60, shutter speed should be 120. Or 125 if your camera doesn't do 120. Now you might be thinking, what's the huge deal with shutter speed? I've actually done it a couple times when I was shooting outside and didn't have an ND filter and I didn't want to close down my aperture. We'll actually get into ND filters in a little bit. But ideally, whenever you're filming, you're just gonna want that nice, smooth sort of motion blur. So make sure if you're not going for a specific stylized look for your video, just keep that shutter speed double your frame rate. And this actually leads me into our next item. It's neglecting using ND filters. ND filters are going to be a lifesaver once you start shooting more content outside. ND filters, or neutral density filters, are amazing. They are super simple to put on. Most of them just screw right onto the front of your lens, and they act like sunglasses for your camera. So I mentioned before that sometimes I have shot with a shutter speed a lot higher than I should have. That's because I didn't have an ND filter on set, and I didn't want to close down my aperture and get rid of my nice blurry background. Now, I thought that was a fair compromise because I could just add motion blur in post, but sometimes it doesn't look as good. Anyway, my favorite type of ND filter is one like this. It's actually called a variable ND filter. So it has several stops of darkness on here. And if I want to make it darker, all I have to do is twist it a little bit. Now this is great. I have one for almost every size lens that I have. This way I'm pretty versatile whenever I'm shooting outdoors, and I can just slap that on, twist it, and we'll be good. If you're interested in the brand that I use, I'll have a link down in the description, and you can just pick them up on Amazon. Next, I'm going to be covering shooting everything in 60 FPS. Now, there was a point where that was kind of me. Every video I was just like, ooh, higher frame rate means better video. So shoot everything in 60 frames per second. And I'm sure you can already guess by it being in this video, but that's not a good idea. If you're looking to have cinematic video and you're shooting everything in 60, everything might look a little bit too smooth or fluid. It's hard to explain, but you'll feel it when you see it. And it actually wastes a lot of space if you're not planning on slowing that footage down later in post. So ideally, you'll want to decide whether you're going to be keeping the footage at full speed. And if you're keeping it at full speed, then you'll want to shoot in either 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second. And typically, you'll just want to save 60 frames per second for anything that you're going to shoot and then slow down to half speed. And our next topic is using automatic ISO. Notice how a lot of these things is just using the automatic settings on the camera. If you want to take your videos to the next level, you got to start shooting in manual. But this is going to be very similar to the automatic white balance thing. So instead of constantly changing the colors of your shot, it'll be constantly changing the exposure of your shot. But there's even an added detriment here, and that's higher ISO equals more grain in your footage. And now if you don't care about your footage being grainy, I guess that's all right. But if your exposure is changing in the middle of your shot, it's going to make it look very amateur. And if you want to be professional or look cinematic, you can't be having that happen. Ideally, you'll just want to set it at whatever number is closest to your camera's native ISO while still properly exposing your shot. If you need to bump it up a little bit too high, see if you can bring in some lights and add some light to your subject. Or if you're shooting outside and you can't go any lower, that's what we have that ND filter for. And this next one is also a mistake that I made myself, and it's overusing log profiles. Now, this is a little bit more advanced, but if you have a camera that shoots in log, shooting in log is supposed to equal automatically professional looking footage, right? Well, not exactly. If you don't know how to color grade log footage, then it's probably going to do a lot more harm to your video than help you. And I did this for a while my computer monitor was also miscalibrated. So my colors came out all wonky for a while until I fixed it. Now, color grading log footage can be a little bit tricky, and it does vary from camera to camera. But if you guys would like a short little tutorial on what I do when working with log footage, let me know down in the comments, and I'll get that out to you guys as soon as I can. And that brings us to our last one. This one's actually almost more important than all of the other ones. It's neglecting audio. If you take anything away from this video, it's to not rely on your onboard camera microphone. It's not gonna sound good in almost any circumstance. Just get yourself a lavalier mic. I'll have links to the ones that I use down in the comments. Or grab yourself a little shotgun mic. That'll have a more directional sound pickup. That way it isolates your subject's voice, whether that's you or somebody else, a lot more than any outside noise or echo that you get from the room that you're going to be sitting in. Along with that, make sure your audio levels are correct. You don't want them going too high because then your audio is going to be distorted, and that just is awful to work with. I've had to do it recently for not something that I shot, but it was a very difficult shoot over on the beach. Lots of wind, stuff like that. I'm also working on a video where I teach you guys how to get the best audio out of a bad situation like that. So if you're interested in that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and it'll be on the channel soon. But you want to make sure that your subject can be easily heard, but not overly loud so that your audio is actually distorted when you go to edit it. Once it's recorded distorted like that, there's almost no fixing it. And if you have a meter to check your audio, on your camera, you might see a little green tick. You'll want most of your audio hitting right about there. And I'd probably only want it spiking a little bit above that. And if you have a sound recorder or something that displays numbers, you'll want to aim for just under -12 on the meter, with your peaks hitting probably no more than -6. If you want to go deeper on any of these subjects, check out my channel. I might have a few videos up already, or I will be working on some more. So with that being said, go out there, fix your settings, make some fire videos, and then let me know how it goes. I want to see what you're out there creating. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one.